Hello guys, good morning. This is Jeremiah from ChoKoLAATe. We are here for the second episode of Paradigm Shifters, a new YouTube series to inspire youngsters. So we have the Pearl Protectors. The Pearl Protectors is an organization striving to protect the marine environment and raise awareness about the coast of Sri Lanka. We have Mr. Muditha Katuwawala here with us today. Hello Muditha, how are you feeling?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yes. So without further ado, let's jump into the questions.
Sure.
Can we have a brief introduction about yourself and as well as your organization?
Sure. So my name is Muditha Katuwawala. I'm an economist myself, and I'm 33 years old right now. And I love photography, and also I'm a scuba diver. So these are some of the interesting facts about me. But overall, I'm the coordinator of the Pearl Protectors. So since 2018, since the inception of the Pearl Protectors, I have carried out the activities that the organization has done. And about the Pearl Protectors, it's a marine conservation organization, right? So it's a one-of-a-kind organization where we try to focus on the challenges of what the ocean is facing. At the same time, we want to really promote volunteerism in Sri Lanka and get the youth involved with the work we do. So it's been tremendous, the work we've been carrying out, and we've done a lot of first of a kind projects also with a higher impact as well. So yeah, that's about me and the organization.
That's great. That's a great organization with a cause. So that's what I love about the Pearl Protectors. Can you tell me the history of the organization, the main focus of it, and what it has to offer to the coast of Sri Lanka?
Sure. So the Pearl Protectors was started in 2018. This was a time when the ocean, the marine environment faced a lot of challenges. Sri Lanka was ranked in the world as one of the top 10 countries of highly pollution being gushed out to the ocean, right? So, and also this is a time when most of the Sri Lankans knew environment just on a terrestrial level. There was a lack of knowledge about the marine sphere as well. So that really started the Pearl Protectors, and something that we've really gone after is the impact, right? So we want to really have, like, even the smallest thing we do, we try to see how we can increase the impact, right. Which really focuses on the marine environment. So that's the uniqueness. So though it's an environment organization, environment conservation, where the youth is leading it, we focus on the marine spheres of it. So we've identified so many challenges in Sri Lanka, and so the first challenge, one of the challenges, has been that the lack of awareness the Sri Lankans have towards the marine environment. So we've been trying to increase the awareness and then also advocate, have better policies, regulations in Sri Lanka. We try to do all these while promoting volunteerism. So right. These are the three sort of pillars that the organization has been based on, and yeah, it's been coming up pretty well so far.
So the Sri Lankan education system does not have a lot of volunteerism in there, and Pearl Protectors promoting volunteerism is such a great thing. That's what I love about Pearl Protectors. So as a young person, why would I choose to join the Pearl Protectors? What should inspire me to join the Pearl Protectors from your view?
Well, the organization is open for everyone. There's no limitation, as long as you love the ocean, love the marine environment, or generally if you love animals also, this organization welcomes anyone who has that passion to bring about change. And also at the same time, we also through volunteerism, we promote skill building, getting experience, and having a larger network of people, right? So who are like-minded. So yeah, this is what Pearl Protector stands for, and because of that, we have seen a large amount of volunteers, young people joining in, to be part of the work we do. So when you say volunteerism, Sri Lanka is ranked right now in the world as the number one country according to the World Giving Index, where volunteerism is mostly prevalent, right? So it's a blessing for our country. It's just that, like you said, it's not really being emphasized as much as we expect. The culture is changing, where like volunteerism doesn't get that priority or the importance. But throughout the history, volunteerism through different activities like Shramadana or Dansal, which we've seen for long past in our history, is kind of dwindling, right? So we want to really bring it out and at the same time focus it towards the conservation and the protection of the marine environment. So it's been very successful, and anybody who's joining in, it's open, and anybody who has the passion can join.
So that's great. May I ask you, what is the ultimate goal of your organization? And personally asking, what wakes you up in the morning?
The organization has a vision where we want to see like the marine environment of Sri Lanka protected, and also to see more individuals, passionate individuals, being active and taking active role in protecting the marine environment as well as restoring and conserving it, right? And so this is, Sri Lanka is an island, right? So we have a larger sea around the island than the land itself. The sea provides so much benefits, right? So environment wise, to social wise, to economical wise, there's a lot of benefits that this bring in. So if we don't protect it, our future is also quite bleak, right? So it's important that we understand this, and that's our vision. We want to see a protected, a sustained and a conserved marine environment in Sri Lanka.
Right. So tell me the key highlights of the organization's journey, and if there are any stories that are close to you.
We've come a long way. Our journey has been, even though we started in 2018, we've done a whole lot of projects, activities, campaigns, expeditions, initiatives, awareness sessions. There's been a lot of them. I wouldn't be able to go into each and every one of them, but overall we've emphasized a lot on getting the young kids in Sri Lanka, the students, the student population, the youth involved through awareness to really take up whatever the skills they have to use it towards the conservation of the marine environment. So during the past several years, we've gone to schools, created awareness around the challenges the ocean is facing and what everybody can do to really protect it. At the same time, we've done a lot of research and advocacy as well, right? So that means we identify challenges that is out there already. We conduct academic research around it so that whatever the policy that can be brought in is backed up by research and academia, right? So, and then also we've launched a lot of activities that have been urgent, right? So, for example, the Sri Lanka's longest running and the largest volunteer campaign, the Nurdle Free Lanka campaign, has been there since last year. Came up after this ship incident, MV Express Pearl, right? So that is one of the largest maritime disasters in Sri Lanka. Spilled like over 50 billion plastic pellets, these nurdles, and then chemical pollution, the oil pollution, the toxic air that got released through it. So these nurdles have been like spreading across like the Indian Ocean, especially around like from Mannar to Arugambe. All this coastline has been like polluted because of these nurdles. So we've been able to effectively bring in volunteers in an urgent manner to really collect and remove these nurdles as soon as possible, right? So similarly, we've been taking up activities which nobody has even thought about it. So it's been very interesting for the youth to be involved in it, because they are learning so much while contributing towards through volunteerism towards like the protection and the conservation of the marine environment. So
and if I remember right, you guys were the first organization to get artificial flippers for the turtles, I guess.
We were actually this is actually a true incident. So last year we had a turtle, olive Ridley turtle, who washed up on Vellavath beach, right? So in Sri Lanka, in our seas, 41% of the turtles are supposedly being caught in fishing nets, right? So they either die or they get injured, right? So this turtle we rescued had a flipper missing, right? So we named her Olivia, right? So she's still at a turtle conservation center. And then also this turtle, she would have died if she wasn't rescued, but now she was brought into this conservation center, and then at the same time she has lost a flipper. At the same time she has this floating syndrome. The floating syndrome is basically where the turtle won't be able to dive down to eat food, right? So turtles usually dive down, they come up to breathe, they always go down to eat food, but then she can't go down because there's air stuck inside the back, right? So it's like a balloon stuck in the back, right? So she can't go down. So now she's been fed, she's been taken care of, but unfortunately this is sort of like what happens around our sea. There are countless animals, marine animals, who we don't see because they live under the sea, right? So they get injured, they die because of human activities, and this turtle is a symbol of of what is happening out there in the sea. So exactly. Very unfortunate, but truly a key highlight, rescuing a turtle, because Sri Lanka is one of the only few countries where we have 5 species of turtles out of 7 that come ashore to lay eggs, and these turtles always come to our shore to lay eggs. It's like they're loyal turtles, right? So us harming them is very bad. These turtles are mostly endangered, vulnerable, and they're very rare to see, right? So it's 1 out of 1,000 turtles who always 1 out of 1,000 hatchlings who grow up to be turtles, who always come back to lay eggs. So it's very rare. So it really highlights the importance of protecting not just turtles but the whole of the marine sphere, the marine animals that are in our seas.
Right. So I've been watching your lives about the olive Ridley turtle that you rescued, and you were searching for funds to feed the turtles. So my heartfelt thanks for you guys for doing that. So in this context, what is the most important characteristic of a Sri Lankan to be able to save the marine environment?
From all the characteristics that are out there, comparing with the rest of the world, I must say Sri Lankans are compassionate. I've visited many countries and I've seen many people, but Sri Lankans, I must say, are very compassionate with many of the things. But we do get bad apples, right? So, but overall, I mean, you can see, for example, you meet an accident on the road, how many people would come to support you and right. For your assistance. Similarly, everywhere else also, this is a trait that is out there. We are known in the world to have the most genuine, we're helpful, right? If any visitor that comes to Sri Lanka, they are saying people are wonderful, they're very helpful, they're very nice, and that's because it's a common trait that we find within ourselves as Sri Lankans throughout the history, right? So we've been welcoming many people to our country, and we've been very kind as well. So this is also something that I'm seeing. It's depleting, it's dwindling. So I think it's important that Sri Lankans understand that we have this trait. It is very unique and very beautiful, but at the same time, not to cloud it with other unfortunate or negative traits. So it's important that we emphasize on it and then work towards it. So compassion is very important because if you think about the animals in Sri Lanka, right, these are animals that have no voice, right? So the marine sphere, if you think about it, it's even worse because they live under the sea, right? So we may not even see it, right? So it's important that all Sri Lankans really need to take it up and improve on it, so
Exactly.
it can lead to a better positive change in Sri Lanka.
Right.
So that answer really made me feel special as a Sri Lankan. And yeah, thank you. So the next question I want to ask is, how important is your team to you? How often do you see them catching up with you and making sure that the work goes well?
Very important. It's the team is very important. It's because at a given time, we may not be doing just one project. We may be doing simultaneously several projects at the same time, right? So not one person can do all of it. So it's a team work that end of the day supports or helps towards a greater impact, right? But at the same time, there are challenges. Now, when you talk about our team, it's all on a volunteer basis. Everybody comes in, right? So volunteerism, the concept of volunteerism is where you do something where you don't expect anything in return, right? So as a team, there could be times in any team who are working towards multiple projects, there are times when things could get much more complicated, or much more there could be much more work coming in. The tasks, the gravity of the task gets much more higher. So it's difficult to maintain that balance, but at the same time, the true reason for the team to really contribute is to see that impact, right? That's the true goal, right? So as long as they're focused on it, they've been able to provide a really good support towards the overall activities that we've been doing. So it's very important.
It's very important that you get value-driven volunteers.
Exactly,
basically.
a passion-driven, value-driven, and the inspirational individuals coming on board. So that's what we have right now. So and also the continuity, right? So making sure that everything is constant is also another challenge, but we've been able to overcome it to a great level.
Right.
I see that you are a value-driven and passion-driven volunteer for the Pearl Protectors. So, as a volunteer as such, do you have a quote that you live by?
Well, the simplest most quote I would say is just simply expect the unexpected, right? So it's always like this in the day and age we live in. It's always, you need to be open to whatever challenges that comes your way, not to really get emotional maybe, or you have to be able to take the good and the bad at the same on the same level, right? So it's challenging, but it changes the perception that you would have towards the general social environment, or whatever gets thrown at you. So be prepared and expect unexpected.
Great.
So how does the community help you, help the work that you do?
So the work we do is quite a lot. For example, if you are to do an hurdle cleanup or a coastal cleanup, we would see many of the coastal communities coming to support, and then many of the young people coming to support. So it's important that as many people get involved as well, because physically seeing the activities that we do, it really, the end result is many of the people get inspired, right? They would then take up their own initiatives. They would do their own initiatives based on like, the learning experience they've had through supporting as volunteers. So it's really important, and the Pearl Protectors itself, the name says protectors, right? So it's a plural. So we want to get as many people as protectors of the pearl of the Indian Ocean. So it's very simple, and like, the community, the support that comes through is very important, and very it should be timely as well. So the community, when I say community, we are talking about mainly the coastal communities, then we are talking about the youth, then we're talking about the academia, like, then also we're talking about school students, and overall Sri Lankans as large, right? So but yeah, like trying to see, like, the community, what the result is through the action that they provide, really sees that inspiration coming out. So that's the end goal of us.
Right.
So the next question I want to ask, I don't know if I should ask this, but how do you react to negativity? Do you get any negativity at all because Pearl Protectors is not doing any harm to anybody?
Well, in anything that you do, you get criticism. You get like, you get negativity, I would say, is like, generally criticisms, maybe complaints. You always, it's a natural trait of a human, like, even how much good you do, there's always like someone would see like the other side of it, and it's completely fine as long as it's constructive criticism. It's always good to take it in, because then you're seeing things in a different perception, right? I know it's sometimes challenging to really see it in a different way than what you perceive it to be, right? So the most important thing here is to be open, right? So be humble and be open, right? So as long as you are so, you always can understand what that wherever that negativity comes in from, you can understand where it originated from, right? So once you identify that, it becomes very simple and becomes very easy to find actual solutions, right? So it's and I mean, we are working with the whole marine sphere, right? So, and we are doing a lot of things for the first time, and when that is so, there's always like, thoughts, or like, there's always different perception people would have, different people have doubts over what we do, questions even in general, like wanting to know where would this lead to, and it's always open to like ask those questions as well, and we welcome like any sort of question, because it makes it more transparent, right? So when it's more transparent, then there's a higher there's a high probability that people will trust the work we do, right? So that has been the case throughout the past, and that's why we've been able to gain so many young people being passionate about marine environment coming on board and like, supporting with the work we do. So that's the straightforward answer to really dealing with negativity.
Yeah, so don't stop.
Don't stop.
Don't stop because
be motivated always, and like be open, be humble.
Right, perfect.
So how do we as Sri Lankans fight against climate change and the threats to our marine environment?
So when we talk about the challenges the marine environment is facing, there's a lot of challenges. Like to start off with, like we are seeing like overfishing, right? Climate change, pollution, right? But we are seeing other like ocean acidifications, like coastal erosion taking place, and coastal constructions, light pollution, sound pollution. There's a lot of challenges generally the marine environment is facing. Most of these challenges are human driven, right? Because of the human activities, and climate change is one of them, right? So the amount of carbon that is being emitted globally is increasing, right? Sri Lanka, I mean, compared with the world, we are very less, but we still, a lot of people are unaware of how climate change happens, how global warming takes place and what really causes carbon emission, right? We have to talk about like constructions like cement, or like even if you have to talk about meat industry, the dairy industry, and then we have like transportation that takes place. The question then is how many Sri Lankans would know their daily output of carbon, right? Carbon emission. And so it's important that Sri Lanka, like as a Sri Lankan, we also understand how much we are being responsible for the problem and how much we can reduce, right? Like so climate change is a global problem, and it's going to be the next big problem that we are facing. We face COVID, we are facing like economical problems right now, challenges, but the next big one is going to be climate change. So we've seen like the food shortages that now everybody's talking about that's coming up, right? So these are all because of like the lack of water, the changes in climate, the weather, and all these other the warming of the environment. So it's going to be impacting the ocean severely because the ocean absorbs a lot more heat, right? So that means like the animals, the marine animals living in the ocean they get impacted. Most of the tropical waters, if you see the map, are now dead zones. That's because and if you talk about the corals, Sri Lanka's 98% of our corals have been bleached, right? So if you compare with 30-40 years ago, we've lost most of our corals, right? So these are some of the challenges because of climate change. But then we have overfishing, which is overfishing takes place in various ways. One way is like so there's illegal fishing practices. We get fishermen coming from South India doing bottom trawling. Bottom trawling is illegal in Sri Lanka, where they scrape the seabed, right? So that is where most of the marine animals would be. That's their habitat, right? So that gets destroyed. At the same time, we get reports of how much dynamite fishing takes place around Sri Lanka. All these other illegal practices. Day before yesterday, we saw this in Kumuna, where they've hacked a turtle just to take out the eggs, and they've killed the turtle and they've taken out the eggs as well. So the mindset of the people, it's changing, which is really bad. And since most of the challenges are coming from humans, it's the perception of the human that needs to really change. The pollution, right? Simple things of reducing single-use plastic, having better waste management in Sri Lanka, having cleaner canals, rivers, actually supports towards the health of the ocean, right? So that's not happening right now, right? So these are some of the challenges we are facing, and I can go on with the list, but this is like the main challenges that we are facing.
So, knowing that they hacked a turtle day before yesterday, what is the involvement of government in protecting the marine environment? Like, what have they done for certain instances like this?
Well, Sri Lanka, most of the regulations that we have are sort of outdated. We have regulations and policies in place.
Right.
They are either outdated or there is not at all enforcement. Like for the incident that happened 2 days ago, there is a mandate agency in Sri Lanka for all of these illegal activities that take place. But the question is, how much effective are they in really dealing with those problems, right? So we are seeing time after time, like case after case, where lack of action has really increased the amount of crimes that are happening towards the marine environment, right? So if it was enforced, that would be a reason for people not to engage in such crimes, right? It becomes a deterrent, but that's not the case as well. We are seeing increased amount of dynamite fishing, going out to the reefs, and spear fishing. Spear fishing is basically a spearfish gun, where they just go down to the reefs and target these animals and start shooting them, right? So it's done in for like tourist purposes as well, but generally these divers also go down and start killing them. It's actually quite bad because the reef is a place where marine life would usually consider it as a home, right? And they would breed there, that's their common habitat around. So when you go down and when you kill an important species, you probably are killing off the entire species by killing one of them, because they may be there to breed, they may be there to increase their species, but if you go down and kill them, you're just losing a whole species. It's the same with dynamite fishing. When you literally drop dynamite and all the fish in that reef, they die. And so when you go down, there's like all these fish on the seabed who are just like all dead. Right? So you're killing an entire ecosystem by just one action. So the enforcement is very important. So as a government, as people, we can't really go and enforce. It's the government's duty that needs to be there. And also something that's important is the importance of being transparent, right? So these are of like public interest, like, you know, so environment conservation, especially, there has to be a better transparent way of where people get to know what's happening. At the same time, then people can also be involved in conservation and protection, right? So government does have a very important role when it comes to to having better policies, research-based regulations, and monitoring and enforcement.
Right. So all we need is we need ethical regulations and research-based regulations immediately.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
So, what are the biggest impacts that you have made as an organization? So, if you could say, "Oh, I'm from the Pearl Protectors. Do you remember we did this project, that project?" So, what would you point out to as a big impact that you have ever made?
I could say a lot of things like that. So every moment that has been there with the Pearl Protectors is a good memory. So it's the key highlights. I mean, some of the great things that we've achieved is, like, I must say, like, we right now have about 1,300 volunteers who are registered. So these are like mostly the youth, right, between the age of 20 to 26, who are getting involved, who are really contributing towards the conservation and the protection of the marine environment. So that is one of the biggest achievements that we've gained, and the numbers are increasing. That means more people are more interested, more people want to be involved, more people want to take action, and more people want to see change, right? Additionally, we've seen, like, you know, the largest maritime disaster in the world, one of the largest, is the MV Express Pearl. Soon after that, we started this Nurdle Sri Lanka campaign. Like I said, it's like the largest volunteer campaign in Sri Lanka and one of the longest running in the world. So that has really mobilized about over 1,700 volunteers. We've collected more than 1.5 tons of nurdles during the whole year. So every weekend we've been out there in the beaches trying to collect as much nurdles. It's tough, but end of the day, knowing that we've removed whatever amount of nurdles from the coast or the beach, we know that the impact on the marine environment may have reduced. So that really keeps us motivating towards the next week, and that's how it's been going on. Beyond that, something that I cherish is that every year we've been building this Christmas tree, which is made out of plastic bottles. So these plastic bottles are actually collected from the beaches, and then we bring them to Allaboutyouth, and then to really highlight the importance of Christmas. Everybody has a Christmas tree, but we want to make it differently and to show the people, look, it's a tree, like a 14-15 feet high tree that is simply made out of plastic bottles, simply found from the beaches. So this is it's a symbolism that really has really inspired many people to say, look, okay, I'm going to cut down on my plastic, and I'm going to reduce the amount of plastic I consume, like I buy from. So that's a change. That change has really been one of the main important factors in our journey. But also when we go to schools and when we do sessions, we just don't do sessions and come back home. We make sure that we follow up with the kids to see that if they are actually changing their habitual behaviors according to what we have created awareness on, right? So mainly single-use plastic. So we've heard stories of kids going back home and demanding their parents to stop the use of single-use plastic. Every time they go to the supermarket, whenever you pay, the cashier would like put everything into the bag. At that point, like, you know, these kids are there like saying, no, I don't want a bag, right? So it's a culture that we really need in Sri Lanka. Right now, if you do that, like, you know, you get all these people judging you. Why do you not need it? It's just because many people don't still understand the detrimental impact these single-use plastic is causing to our environment. But the younger generation is more aware of this, and seeing it through the awareness that we have built on is much more motivating, inspiring, and like it makes us carry on our work. So
you must feel very awesome knowing that, wow, they're
yeah,
not using
exactly.
any bags.
Exactly. It's even one person like not saying to that is a good impact. That whatever the bag would have ended up in the ocean, it would have been broken into microplastic, or maybe a turtle may have seen it as a jellyfish, would have consumed it, choking that turtle and eventually killing that turtle. So if that whole cycle was broken at some point because of us, that's actually a true inspiration.
Right.
So recently we started like cleaning the seabed, like training divers, getting young people to be divers, and then going out there and like, you know, doing so it's an expedition. We are doing cleaner seabeds for Sri Lanka. It's been like one of the first such expeditions in the world, like, you know, continuously trying to locate where there's pollution and getting down there and physically removing it. So it's a, you know, always for me, scuba diving is like a totally different amazing experience. Just being in a different world, you feel like, you know, being underwater, seeing all this, like, you know, fish, swarms of fish, you get sharks, you get like turtles, just like, you know, it's everywhere. It's like the ecosystem down there is very beautiful, but it's slowly going down. So that really tells you a story how our oceans are struggling, right? So we are on land. It's us who's causing most of this trouble, most of these challenges. So really changing that cycle is the biggest highlight of the organization and the work we do.
So guys, don't be a villain and use shopping bags.
Yes, not
be
just
a
shopping,
superhero.
all single-use plastic. Try to reduce as much as possible.
Yeah. So would you mind explaining what an eco brick is?
Yeah, eco brick is so it's a very easy way of reducing the waste an individual might be accumulating, right? So like the waste generated by an individual, this is an excellent alternative towards it. So we all know what a brick is, right? A brick is being used for construction. Brick is used for, like, it's a solid object where throughout the history they've been used for many of the construction projects. But an eco brick is where you actually take a plastic bottle, right? So the plastic bottle acts as the casing of this brick. Now a plastic bottle is also easily squishable, right? Like you can crush it, but by filling it up with waste itself, you're making it a solid brick, right? So it's very interesting. So what you can do is you collect as much plastic waste that is generated at your house, right? So now when I collect like 2 months worth of plastic, so some items, like, you know, the food wrappers, right? So for example, like, you know, the biscuit packet wrappers, you get, like, sometimes you get the bags also, sometimes you get these other plastic like, you know, wrapping material, sometimes sachets even, right? They always end up being thrown out or taken away from the house, right? So where it goes is a question, because in the world it's only about 18% of the plastic gets recycled. In Sri Lanka it's about 5 to 7%. So imagine, right, like the majority of the plastic that goes out from a house may not see recycling. So some of them get incinerated, but many of them end up in landfills or in the ocean, right? So this is an excellent way to stop the waste that is generated. What you do is you collect as much plastic as possible, make sure it's dry, there's no food contaminants, collect as much possible, and then start filling a plastic bottle, ideally a 1 liter or like 1.5 liter, but there has to be some sort of consistency. If you're filling 1 liters, make sure all the bottles are 1 liter. Having different sizes really takes away that brick concept, right? So having the same size is important. So what I do is I have like, I love ginger beer, but unfortunately there's no real alternative for ginger beer other than like the plastic bottle that you get. So instead of throwing that bottle away, I fill up like, whatever the waste that is generated in household, to fill it up. You need a stick to really push it down. So then like layer after layer, you build up. And then once you fill that bottle up, you get like a solid 500, 700 gram weight bottle, which is solid. So then once you have like enough bottles, you can start making things out of it. Like, we made benches, tables, sometimes people have made sofas, even sometimes people make like walls out of it. So by filling cement in between, you actually use it as the as a brick, alternative to a brick. You can check online like all the various things you can come up with using eco bricks, but it's an excellent way if you make like enough eco bricks, and if you get your friends to do eco bricks as well, if you're in a school, if you get like if you're in the university or even at the workplace, if all the co-workers start like building eco brick, you can make something solid end of like 3-4 months, which acts as a symbol of like eco consciousness, at the same time protects like does less harm to the environment.
Right. Why buy sofas again? So yeah. So where do you expect to see the organization's impacts, the outcomes to be in 10 years?
We want to see a protected ocean. We want to see marine animals being protected, being not having to face challenges or threats either because of the human activities or other activities. We are seeing like so many challenges. Something I missed on saying is also like the whales, amount of whales being hit by the ships that are passing through our waters. So we need better policies in Sri Lanka, research-based policies like that really helps the conservation of the marine environment. And we want to see a truly caring population in Sri Lanka who really cares for the ocean, not just the ocean but all environments. So to reach there, we will be continuing to do various initiatives, activities, campaigns in order to achieve that. It's going to be a long journey, especially with the challenges we are having right now. It's 2018-19, I would say far more people were keen and interested in taking up action, being part of the conservation. But right now, a lot of people are like facing other priority challenges. Like, so we don't know where it may lead us, but what we know is that if we stop caring for our environment, that's going to be our downfall in the long term, right? So we want to see Sri Lanka which is even more compassionate towards the environment, more caring, more responsible. And
it's like eventually when you're not taking up your responsibility to care for the marine environment, it's like letting your future generation down, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. So if you talk about our previous generations. Like there have been goods and the bads, right? So because of the bad decisions they may have taken in the past, we are in the position right now. So these challenges, what I shared with you, have been because of like different various decisions that may have been taken in the past. But if we don't take the right decisions right now, it's going to be even worse for the future generations. So it's important, especially the young people, to really be aware of this, be passionate of this, be interested in this, and be motivated to really see that change towards the betterment.
Right, right.
How can we be a part of your work? How can we learn more about the Pearl Protectors? So right after this interview, where should all the viewers go to check out more about you?
Sure. So we are reachable through many social media pages. Facebook, we have the Pearl Protector page, where you can see all the images, like pictures of all the activities we've done. Instagram, we always run stories about different interesting areas, how anybody can contribute towards the conservation and the protection of the marine environment. Then on LinkedIn as well, and Twitter, so where we constantly update important things as it happens. You can also visit our website, www.pearlprotectors.org. On that, you can register as a Protector of the Pearl volunteer, and also you can learn of all the activities, the campaigns, the initiatives taken so far, and what we intend to do in the future as well. And then physically come and meet us. Like whenever we have a volunteer opportunity, stay updated, come, contribute, volunteer, and be part of the team as well. So there's many ways to reach out to us, get more information.
Right. It's very, very easy to reach out to you guys.
Of course.
Yeah, right.
So we have come to the end of the session. How do you feel after the session?
Do you feel good?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean always sharing this is awareness. I hope all of you may have learned something new, right? And I hope the listeners would be inspired to take action now. So
Of course.
if there's a positive impact, that's what matters. So feeling good.
Right. Okay. We have come to the end of the interview, and
Thank you, Mr. Muditha Katuwawala from the Pearl Protectors, for coming here today, sharing your knowledge with us, sharing your experience with us, and all of your thoughts with us. We are very grateful to have you on board here, and we wish you all the best for the future projects that you have for the Pearl Protectors and to protect the marine environment of Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much for having me here. So it's a pleasure being here, and thank you.
thank you very much.